Hey again, it's me from the Welcome to Wonderland podcast. This Thanksgiving, make a statement with ZJZ Designs' brand new Thanksgiving Day prints. Whether you're hosting the family feast or just want to show your festive spirit, they've got the perfect design to make your holiday memorable. Introducing Tommy the Turkey. He's fun, he's festive, and he's the star of their latest collection. From playful tees to cozy long sleeves, Tommy will keep you looking stylish as you carve the turkey or sit back and enjoy the pie. And that's not all. Their Thanksgiving prints feature a variety of unique designs that capture the warmth and joy of the season, perfect for yourself or as a gift for a loved one. Shop now at zjzdesigns.com and bring a little extra cheer to your Thanksgiving.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to the second half of this episode, number 229, with Karl Smith, the organizer behind the votereducationproject.com. We're going to get right back here into the episode in just a second. I want to remind you, if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe to the show. If you could also share the show, that's how we get new listeners. Also, if you can, please consider supporting the show by visiting our support link at the top of our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. More details on that at the end of the show. If you can't do that, please drop us a review, give us 5 stars, or give us a thumbs up wherever you can. Leave that for us. It gets us higher up in all of these ratings on the podcast. So we really appreciate you listening. We're going to jump right back into the show here. The All About Nothing podcast. Karl Smith of the Voter Education Project. Republicans on this, there's this idea, well, if you like your doctor, you get to keep them. Well, what if you don't like any of the doctors that are available in the system that is available from your employer?
Right. Yeah, there's so many businesses that don't get started. There's because of this false idea, that you should be able to keep your doctor or whatever. It's really kind of it's this distraction. The bigger thing is, and what would be people to think about is that system going to be there for you when you need it? Because basically, if you're only charged by whatever the risk is at your age, well, it works for you when you're young, and it makes it totally unaffordable when you're older. When you hit 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and so on, you cannot afford what that's going to cost you. So you're going to basically be underinsured, or you're not going to be, it might be covered for a couple of things, maybe the sniffles and stuff, but you get any kind of serious issue, they're going to go, no, you can't, your program doesn't do that. But if we have a national program that then, so it distributes what we have to do instead of distributing costs across an age. And that's what a business does. It's like a business has a lot of different employees. It has young employees, older employees. So it gets spread across most of their lifetime, and then basically, Medicare and stuff, picks up afterwards, because the business wouldn't be able to do that either.
Right.
But so we got to get away from this idea that you should be paying what your age group, cost, because that means that later you will not have the healthcare you need in that system. It is not there for your lifetime. You've got to think about insurance or healthcare as a lifetime process, and not a year by year kind of thing. So I think there's ways of countering the Republican messaging. So and there's better arguments to put into the kind of the national debate. So, that's what I'm trying to do, is get some traction for this idea of basic public investments, getting people to understand that, because then they understand, okay, yeah, we can, these things will pay back, when we invest in these things. And so it's not being, socially or fiscally irresponsible. These are fiscally responsible things. These are investments that will pay back in a number of different ways. Having a national health care program is not social. Most of the providers are going to still be private businesses and so on, but you'd have your choice of going to whatever doctors and so on. And then the system's going to be there. Our current system is a game of chance, nothing more.
Yeah.
And now, with the national health program, or the Obamacare, it's getting more people into this bigger pool. And basically, it's kind of shifting it, and over time, then it's going to be a lot more attractive. But but we still have all the the inefficiencies of an insurance system. We need to
Yes.
get rid of that. The quicker we get rid of that, the quicker all of us can benefit from better health care. And
Yeah.
all these other countries are doing better than we in terms of health outcomes.
Yeah.
We need to drive that message over and over and over. And just like the Republicans do, they get on a message and they're like a dog that won't let go
I
of
think
that message and so on.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is the fact that the word insurance is tied to healthcare. It's this idea that in order to have good health, you have to have something in place for in case something goes wrong, which is what insurance is. And I detest the idea of insurance, even though I literally work in insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I work for a software company that creates the software for property and casualty insurance companies, and so I recognize that as, honestly, it's part of the problem of the system. The fact that we are and it it holds people accountable to what they've done. So I kind of look at, and this is, I don't know if I'm biased about it. I probably am, but I look at property and casualty as being something as a necessary in a system that potentially doesn't have the ability to come in and replace somebody's home. I mean, we just went through the disasters of Hurricane Helene, and they're still assessing both that storm as well as Milton that just occurred just a few days ago as of this recording. And in Florida, it's almost impossible to get insurance without paying an extremely high premium monthly, sometimes $2,000 and $3,000 a month, just to cover the possibility and the increased likelihood that your property is going to be damaged or destroyed. And you're paying into a system that, if you live somewhere in Florida where it statistically hasn't been hit by a hurricane or major storm or flooding and things like that, and you pay into that system for the entire time you own that home, and you sell that home, you don't get to cash out on everything you paid into something that didn't pay out back to you. You have essentially paid into a system that is now trying to pay for others, which is a social thing. That is, and I think that if you were to poll some of the Republicans or those Republicans that buy into the Republican ideals, every single election cycle, that they would tell you that, yeah, it's necessary for you to have insurance, but they disassociate from the fact that insurance is a social program. You pay into something so that it may have to, if you need it, it'll be there to help take care of your needs, but you're currently taking care of somebody else's needs. And there's, again, it's that cognitive dissonance.
It's the problem. It's there's all this probabilities and so on. So even if you just look at it, well, maybe maybe I need it, maybe I don't, or maybe I'm going to use it, maybe I'm not. But it's there, and then you can say, okay, maybe you're sitting on, you've got $1 billion, or you got $500 million, you got $100 million. Okay, I'm going to self-insure because that's going to be cheaper for me to do that. This property is only worth $1 million. I can replace this property.
Right.
So if so depending on your financial worth or your status, you can decide that you're going to take that risk. So you can live in a high risk area and get the benefits for being there, but then if it's gone, then you can afford to replace it. That's a very different thing than like health insurance, which basically is very, very, the probability of something happening when you're young is very, very low, but when you're old, it becomes a lot more. And then as unhealthy as our population is, a lot of these diseases and everything, diabetes and various things, heart disease, they're starting in their 40s. So they're going to have some sticker shock, if they if they decide, that, or if they don't have a program that's really based on spreading it out over life. This plus property insurance is that way. It doesn't really have it. Well, this year it's this, and that year it's that, and that. It's the same. Typically the same cost. For that whole period, depending on the exact thing. If something's going to get, like a car, which is going to get, kind of worse off over time. Maybe it's higher, but they're going to give you a price for the next 3 years, 4 years, whatever. You pay that flat price on a property, on a coastline property. Well, the probability global warming is making the probabilities look worse, and the insurance companies, they're not into this political bullshit. Oh, global warming is not real. They're doing the calculations.
Oh,
they're seeing, so if somebody wants to, figure out who to believe, look at the military, what they're doing. Look at the insurance companies, what they're doing. Is this real? The insurance companies are, they're taking it pretty serious, because they can't stay in business if they don't, charge the right amount of money and stuff.
Exactly.
But I don't think that we should be necessarily making, or really publicly reducing the costs of people that want to live in high risk areas. We should allow, if they can afford to do that, but if you can't afford to do that, and the poor people, they get trapped, in these areas. They can't do the evacuations. They don't have the finances to go someplace else, so it's better if they don't live in super high risk areas.
Yeah.
And like right there on the beach and so on.
And just to point out, look, the reason that Florida has such a high population as it does is because 50, 60 years ago, Florida was a mosquito infested swamp.
Mm-hmm.
And people moved to Florida not because of the beautiful golf courses and things like that, but because we had military bases there. People were already living there. It was not an expensive place to live. My grandparents moved to Florida in South Florida in the early 60s, in the late 50s, early 60s, back when you could buy a house in a community that looked exactly like the other 2,000 houses in that community for $15,000. So they moved to Florida because Florida wanted people to move there. So the price of building a home was subsidized by the federal government. The cost of living in Florida was subsidized by the state government because they wanted an increase in population, and it worked. Now Florida is prime real estate, despite the fact that it's one supermoon tidal flood away from being half of a state, and but it's those federal subsidizations that actually made Florida profitable. And now you have people that have lived there for generations, but that are poor and can't move away from Florida because of the cost of just moving. And it's that separation from reality and history. And then they vote in the Republican Party because the Republicans are the ones that are in charge, and maybe it's change they fear that doesn't allow for them to recognize just the impact that party has had on the generations of their lives living in this state. We have friends that live in Florida that ultimately live in Florida because that's where their families have lived, and for them to get out of that state costs more money than they can afford to put forward for it.
Right.
But they see every time there's a hurricane, the only thing they can do is go 15 or 20 miles further from where they live and be separated from their home and their property,
Mm-hmm.
or separated, their families are separated. These are the impact, and sometimes they don't see the impact of just their day-to-day lives on the programs that have been instituted in a state like run by DeSantis and the Republican legislature. South Carolina is very similar. There are people that live in South Carolina that have lived here for generation after generation because they can't afford to move somewhere else. If they have dreams or aspirations of living somewhere else, then their only ticket out is either play football for the University of Clemson or South Carolina, or somehow score that job that would potentially get them moved out. And it's because of the generational lack of wealth that's been created by the system here in South Carolina and in Florida and
Well,
in Georgia and Alabama, Mississippi, all these
it's
states.
all kind of a probabilistic thing. You take, there's, millions of people and so on, and they're all in different parts of their lives. People are doing different things. Kids are going off to college in different states, and then they decide not to come back. So families are, getting spread, distributed across the country. And then I met a lady a couple of nights ago, and she moved here because her sister, and her family moved here, and she helps take care of their kids. And she was from Oregon. So, it's kind of a culture shock coming to Columbia, South Carolina. But it's just family members. Will go. There's all sorts of situations. My wife was saying that she had seen a thing, and I'm not sure of the accuracy of it, and it's an estimate anyway, that about 12% of people now in Florida are saying they'd like to kind of leave Florida in the next year. Well, that's a significant. I don't think all of them will do that. It does sound like a reasonable percentage, because probably a lot of people got scared shitless, through this experience of this last couple of storms hitting them, within a couple of week period, and then just seeing the storms going from Cat 1 to Cat 4, Cat 5 in 12 hours, 24 hours. That's got to have some people, and then seeing like the damage that kind of thing costs or causes up close. It's kind of hard to say, well, it's not real, it's fake.
Right.
It's fake news. No, they just saw it.
Yeah.
So I think the reality might be setting in for more people, and hopefully we have, the Democrats have an opportunity, on the social issues and stuff. If we can win the whole thing on the economy, and get people to understand that, it's the Democrats that are on the right side of the fundamentals that make both our people and our businesses prosper, and help them thrive. Cutting all these programs, or Republicans, they want to cut public education, they want to cut health care, they want to cut research, they want to cut, and then they want to do infrastructure, but only where it's a user fee paid. So that creates a two-tier system where if you're wealthier, you're going to be able to take advantage of it. If you're not so wealthy, well, no, it's kind of, so, creating opportunities for people, no, it's kind of a barrier for people. So they're on the wrong side of they want to cut FEMA and our social safety nets, or not social safety, but our safety nets here. And this idea that, okay, you should just be able to keep all the money or most of the money that you get, and the government, or we don't need to buy anything collectively, because that's what this really is. We're putting money into our communities and our states, our cities, and our states, and our federal level, and then they buy things for us collectively at a lot better price than we can get individually.
Right.
A huge, discount. So this idea of that's a bad thing to do is really dumb.
Yeah.
Or just really uninformed. They need to understand that it's not socialism. This is creating opportunities. It's not controlling our lives. It's opportunities. These are investments that pay back, and cutting these things. In fact, if you look at what cutting does, if you cut on education, that was money being put at the bottom of the economy, which was being spent quickly, which then would disappear. So the businesses that were getting that money quickly, they would have fewer customers, so they would cut back.
Yeah.
Right. So then they would pay fewer taxes, and then those people. So that creates this feedback loop. That, guess what? The savings that were supposed to be realized, even just in a stimulus kind of way, they or an immediate way, the savings disappear because your revenue disappears.
Right. Yeah.
So this isn't going to, and then all of the long term, if we have fewer healthy and educated people, guess what? They're going to make a lot less money over their lifetime. If we have less research, we spend less on that, we're going to have less opportunities, which means that we're going to have less, less money and so on. So all of these things that the Republicans want to do, exact opposite. It is not this liberal, fairyland stuff. This is something that really is that benefits us all. It's solid, fiscally responsible, like buying a house or investing in something that actually pays back. We need to get those messages of basic public investments. Valuing all workers and workers' rights. That's what or in a fair system, I should say. That's what helps us all. And instead of some people doing better, or big businesses doing great, and our small businesses more struggling, and just not the thing, not having a national health program, so we don't have to worry about where our health care is coming from, and all this complexity. If you start getting into Medicare and all that, it's get this advantage. You get so many people coming after you, trying to get you to sell you this or sell you that, and the reality is it's going to give you less benefits.
Yep.
It's crazy. There's just so much better ways of doing things that other countries have already done. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
We need to get people to understand it.
I'll say this as well. A Donald Trump presidency will be the invoking of the pillars of the Project 2025, and we just went through and this season, while the hurricane season started out kind of slow. I mean, I guess it started. It was not as impactful early on as it has been in the last few weeks. But the programs that Project 2025 wants to do away with, and it's verifiable, it's written in the document that is available for everyone to go and look at and read. And despite the fact that Donald Trump has attempted to separate himself from it, and the Republicans have separated Donald Trump from it, and even the Heritage Foundation has stated that, yes, we are no longer attempting to enact this as part of his policy. They have also said in closed doors that we're just letting this happen. We're letting Donald Trump separate himself because it doesn't seem popular. But programs that Project 2025 is bound to try and do away with, and one of the most important is NOAA, our National or Oceanic and Air and Atmospheric Administration. Literally, they're who tracks these hurricanes. Your weather forecasts that you get from your television or your radio or your internet, those are all provided under a government program that funds the National Weather Service through NOAA. And NOAA is fundamental when it comes to protecting us in security from hurricanes and weather events, blizzards. All knowing when tornadoes are more likely because of a storm front coming through is all we benefit from that because of the National Weather Service and NOAA. And Project 2025 will do away with NOAA because they see it as an expense that's not necessary.
And it's Trump's people, that he's been associated with a long, long time that came up with that. The majority of his people. So him not knowing anything about it and all that, I mean, it's just laughable. And anyway.
Well, and Karl, I didn't get to ask you about your background earlier on, but you're a professor at the university?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
I'm a research associate.
Associate
in the electrical engineering department. No, I don't even have my bachelor's. My master's degree. I kind of ran out of money.
Yeah.
Trying to put myself to go through my graduate program.
Don't even get me started on public education.
People wanted to pay me to do my own research and stuff. So I went ahead and did that. But
okay.
I'm just a research associate. It's, as somebody getting older, I've got actually a 30-year-old with autism, just turned 30. So I need to be around for a while. I'm 68 years old.
Yeah.
And I had gone through some health problems, and it was really kind of spiraling down. I turned vegan about 6.5 years ago. Got my health back.
Okay.
I've done up to 10-mile runs this year, 50-mile bike rides. I lost about 40 pounds.
For those of you listening at home, Karl is now shaming me. passively aggressively.
Well,
No, just kidding.
I got my health back, but also, you want to keep your brain sharp. And I
Yeah.
have a company that I continue to run, but I wasn't doing anything really intellectually stimulating, with that. And so basically, I took this job at the university to help, keep my brain hopefully as sharp as possible, and so if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
That's not only physically, that's also mentally, and because I need to be around for a while,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be, with minimal health and taking a tray full of medicine a day, and then
Yeah.
getting all sorts of other side effects because this one, then you get another pill for that side effect, and that's just not the life that I want. I want to be vibrant. I want to be active. And there's things, and without all the disinformation that our food industries, are, funneling through the FDA and all that. I mean, we really need to separate that so that people can make decisions based on actual science and not this, there's an interesting movie called Game Changers with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he says, well, all the stuff that we were telling you back in the day and stuff, that's just, companies paying us to say that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not actual science. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not actually, and you don't need meat to be strong. This one guy that lifts like 1,200 pounds. I mean, just something insane. Walks about 30 steps with 1,200 pounds. And then people well, how can you be so strong? You're as strong as an ox. And then everybody goes, well, what do ox eat?
Yeah. Well, and then the undermining of the undermining of the Supreme Court's on the Chevron decision, which basically states now that a judge can make an uninformed decision on a ruling, where previously we had experts that would add to the testimony in order for a judge to make an educated ruling, and without the Chevron decision anymore. Or the control of Chevron, that now we have the possibility that judges could potentially make uninformed decisions based purely on how it might benefit them or someone they know, and
the political standing or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
it's these are all things that are fixable to make, and that's part of your message is making America great for everyone.
Right.
And ultimately, I think that what you're doing is absolutely necessary, and people absolutely should appreciate the time that you're putting forth. I do have a couple questions from a listener, Leroy Green, who appears on our show regularly, semi-regularly, I guess. He also has a podcast called Nerdy by Nature, where they do movie reviews of sci-fi and that sort of thing. And very entertaining. You can check them out on YouTube. But he had a couple questions. With the recent storm, how has your mission changed as far as educating voters against misinformation?
Well, this is not a new phenomenon. This has actually been happening. This misinformation has been happening for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
Since Reagan's time, but it's the Republicans have been on this. It's socialism, it's taking your freedoms, and all this kind of stuff, and kind of scaring people into thinking that Democrats, are going to ruin the economy and our democracy. And then, unfortunately, they got somebody like Trump, which has. If you read his book, Art of the Deal, and really, it could have been called Art of the Con.
Yeah.
The first 70 pages really kind of shows how he kind of admires despicable people, that are effective. If they throw somebody out on the street, no way to survive. Well, he kind of admires those people.
That's the way he looks at dictators across the world. He admires the fact that they are strong men that have no issue with shoving someone or having someone shove someone out of a window, or fly into Turkey and disassemble a Washington Post reporter that was writing negative stories about the Prince of Saudi Arabia. These are things that strong men dictators do, and Donald Trump.
He doesn't think that lying is. I mean, he really kind of minimizes it. He thinks of it as kind of fibs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a benign thing. And now his fibs, what he considers a fib, gosh, they are whoppers.
Destructive.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think it's very enlightening to see, to see what but he's had kind of what I call FU money.
Yeah.
So he can basically go out there and if he was dependent on other people's money, to run, the first time he would have never gotten very far, because they would, he would have said things and they would go, well, I'm not funding that. But he was able to just put that message out. And he showed where even if you go into the enemy camp and even with a batshit crazy message, some people will buy into it.
Yeah.
You can pull out votes. I'm disappointed that Harris is not coming here to Columbia, to South Carolina.
Agreed.
And just all over, just every state, not just the battleground states, but in her surrogates. I mean, we need to have people going all over and go after every single vote, and not just go after the people that are likely, they think are likely to vote for us. We need to flush out, and we can, and every time you flip somebody, it's like 2 votes. There's 1 less for them and 1 more for us.
Yeah.
So we need to, like I say, we need to go after every vote, but also with better messaging, and this whole thing, let's make America great for everyone instead of make America great again. It wasn't working so well. It's not hard to get people to think about that that it wasn't working well for minorities, but also for women.
Yeah.
Women still are not on equal footing with men, in terms of the law. That is absolutely, and who is responsible for that? Republicans.
Right. And it's on the simple ideas too. It's on things like pay. The pay gap between men and women is still roughly about 22 to 20%. Like it's a difference in how much women get paid for the same job that men might do. When it comes to healthcare, Republicans are literally enacting legislation to limit what women can have as far as healthcare. Whether I think one of the things that really bugs me is even when I hear liberals say that they are pro-abortion, I don't think anyone is actually pro-abortion. They're not pro this idea, unless it's specifically about the healthcare part of it. The fact that and I say this and it bothers people sometimes, but reading and I've read through the Bible 3 or 4 times, but the Old Testament is almost an instruction manual on how to sacrifice and abort babies or children, not infants, not groupings of cells and things like that. But that detracts away from the point that women's rights in the United States do not equal men's rights in the United States. And it's because the Republican Party has found a way to basically just etch away at what women have a right to, their own bodily autonomy. Men in the United States, if you're not a convicted criminal, you have bodily autonomy. There's almost no legislation that I have seen anywhere in any state in the United States that actually takes away a men's right to choose how they want to handle their own health or their own body. But we have legislation in place now in I think it's 27 states that basically tells a woman that if you have a miscarriage, or if the health of the baby is going to impact, or the health of the it's not a baby yet in my eyes, a baby is born. But the fetus, if the fetus is impacting your health and with the potential of killing you, that in a majority of states here in the United States, you're just going to have to die. And that is not equality between men and women. And when I try to explain that to someone that has a different opinion than me, they always go to this, well, every baby's life is sacred. And I don't disagree. I think a baby's life is sacred, just like my life, just like my children's lives and my family, my friends, their lives are sacred and should be cherished and everything possible be done to protect those lives. But part of the woman being pregnant is the risk of that pregnancy, especially, and it should science have caught up by now? Yeah, potentially. But I think part of science is the fact that there is the availability of a medical procedure called an abortion that protects that mother from the harm that the fetus could potentially cause if the pregnancy goes bad.
Well, and then the Republicans just basically bold-faced lie about, that people or mothers are wanting to just tear apart full-term babies and just rip them out of their wombs, and those are very painful decisions when
absolutely.
And then some women choose that their baby, their fetus, is going to survive and they die.
Yep.
Some women choose that, but these are really hard choices. When these late stage abortions, where the mother or the fetus is just not going to survive, or it's going to suffer. They can see, fortunately, because of modern science, they can actually see that this is not a good outcome. We're only extending the suffering of a baby. That's not humane.
Yeah.
Or the suffering of the mother, and then and having to be like right on death's door for them to do anything about it, instead of basically doing things, when they're safe. We know the fetus is not viable. Something's gone terribly wrong.
Yeah.
In my understanding, the Bible is, has some different things, but they talk about the quickening and the first breath, and
Yep. All the things that make a baby a baby.
Right. So, these are really hard, gut-wrenching problems that should be left up to the families. Trust women
and doctors.
They don't get, Now, on the other hand, we need to, and this is where the Republicans don't do well at all, is, you could get more women to choose to have the baby. If they already have several babies, or they're really just not, they don't think they're financially prepared to do it.
Right.
Pay a frickin', livable goddamn wage.
Yep.
Sorry for my language there, but, equal pay for equal work, workers' rights, all these things, child health care credits. We need more families, more women to choose to have babies.
Yeah. You want to, if the government wants to, if the government wants a say in whether or not a woman has the right to their own decision about having a baby, then the government needs to step in and be supportive of that decision.
Right.
I did some research a few months ago, and we'll wrap this up here in a minute. But I did some research a couple months ago, and basically found, so in the United States, abortions performed at or after 21 weeks of gestation are extremely rare. Right. According to data from the CDC and other sources, they account for about 1% of all abortions. Most abortions, 93%, occurring within the first trimester, which is up to, of course, 13 weeks. Only 7% occurring after the first trimester, with 3% occurring between 16 and 20 weeks. And everything, 99% of abortions that occur after 21 weeks are done for medical necessity reasons, not because it was a choice, but because it was a medical decision that was made. And they've taken away the doctor's ability to properly make decisions or give the information to the mothers or the families about whether or not the fetus life is viable and the impact on the mother. And they've taken that away from these people.
I think the fundamental problem is that Republicans, I don't think they believe that they can actually win without bald-faced lying to people, Agreed. Misinforming people about what they do, and then also what and believe in, and what the Democrats do and believe in. So they have to make up these false, scenarios or situations where, we're basically ripping babies out, like full-term babies being born, we just rip them apart,
Right.
or
It's
even,
absurd.
before that. So they've got to basically lie. And we need to just keep calling it out for what it is. It's lying.
Yeah.
Joe Wilson is lying.
Yep.
About what the Democrats and Republicans are doing, that we're going to basically install socialism. They're lying, to the people. So we need to say that over and over. They want to basically make America great again for the oppressors, the people that wanted to keep minorities down, the disabled, women. So they're going to make America great, for those groups. But if you want to make America great for everyone, we really need to, work on getting a fair system.
Yeah.
Valuing all workers, and then our basic public investments. Those are the things that make people prosperous. It's not a simple thing. Okay, well, you just do one little thing and everybody prospers. No, it's a complicated thing. Just like a car, you can't just have good air in the tires.
Yeah.
You've got to actually have a working engine.
Yep.
You got to actually have, a drivetrain and, these other things. It takes that little symphony of things working together that creates, a situation where we all thrive. All these people that think that the Democrats or no party is really addressing their needs, or the Democrats aren't, or whatever, we are. When we invest in education, what does that do? That puts money in every single community in the country. When we invest in healthcare, if we had a national healthcare program, that would put money in every single community and make everybody, healthier and be able to take risks, knowing that their healthcare is provided. And this whole idea that, with that system, it takes forever to get anything done. Have you tried to get an appointment in the United States for a new doctor? What it can take? It took me 6 months to find a new internal medicine person, and once I identified one, it took about another 4 months or whatever to actually get an appointment. So this whole idea that you have that we have we have this utopia system.
Yeah,
it
doesn't exist.
Lie.
It doesn't exist.
Plain lie.
So
anyway, I'm a little bit passionate about about this. And one last point. We are on the verge of, I'm absolutely convinced we are on the verge of a modern day Dark Ages or a modern day Renaissance.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Really, this thing with if Trump gets another term, that's the Dark Age side. And it won't be like the old Dark Ages and stuff. It could be a kind of a modern version of it. But it's a dystopian. It is a very dystopian future,
right, where federal employees have to basically align themselves politically with the president of the United States in order to maintain their jobs, and the problem, if they're faking it, fine. But the problem with that is that what those employees do in their job has to impact him positively in order for them to maintain their jobs. Otherwise, the executive branch of the government will be able to just to fire them and replace them with a loyalist.
And people that are on the right side of the equation, the right religion, the right whatever. Yeah. But then it becomes a system of corruption. Yep. Which a lot of other systems, once you get those systems, it's really hard to get rid of.
Look, communism on paper looks like something that would work to benefit everyone. If no one holds all of the value and if everyone equally holds all the value, that sounds almost utopian, right? But the problem is that the people at the top of those communistic systems are only doing it to benefit themselves. Your Putins, the oligarchs that run the Russian government and all of the contracts that those oligarchs have to continue to build on their own wealth. That's where communism fails.
And we have the same problem in capitalism, and we have our robber barons, oligarchs, and then this rigging the system to more enrich them, at the expense of the people. They can, the rich can do well if we support the people. That money, where does that money go? When you put money into healthcare, education, whatever, and it's going to the bottom of the economy, that money is getting spent back up into products and services, which are then offered by, these companies, and some of them large companies, some of them small companies, and then those companies buy things from each other, and so, the money percolates up.
Yep.
It does that very well, and the rich end up, getting a chunk, we have to look at what we're doing after, it's not about every single dollar we make. It's like, how much buying power do we have kind of at the end of the day, even with our taxes, even if we had a little higher tax rate, but if we get more in our basket of goods, so that we're doing well and we have the protections we need, and we know that healthcare is going to be there for us and all that, even if we were taxed a little bit more, but we could buy more, than having, like, paying almost no tax, but having no support. That's not a good situation there. You want to maximize the quality of life and what that basket can be for that individual.
Absolutely.
And that's by all of us contributing to, and the rich need to, they need to contribute to the system. They have the most at risk. They have the most to gain by a healthy and stable system. But the rest of us, it doesn't have to be them or us versus them. They can do well. Maybe we won't have quite as many billionaires, but we'll have plenty of wealthy people and stuff. But then all the rest of us, we could drive poverty down to practically zero.
Yeah.
If we do this right, we can, we could practically eliminate poverty.
I think it's important.
All of us
it's important for these ultra rich people to understand, and this isn't a threat, but it's to understand that that they will always be outnumbered by the middle class and the poor, and that is something that they should always keep in the back of their mind, that there is always the potential for a revolution, because it's happened. History happens over and over and over.
You oppress people for too long, they eventually will, and if wealth gets concentrated too far, it will fall.
So, but the last question Leroy had that I'll ask you before we wrap this up was, purely on your suggestion, when and how should we approach family members who might have fallen into the MAGA and conspiracy theory rabbit holes?
So, well, fortunately, there's, families are not monoliths. They, wives don't agree with husbands don't agree with wives. The children certainly don't agree with them, especially when they're teenagers and all of that. So, we get the messages, if we get, basic public investments and a fair system and all of that, these kinds of concepts, into just out into the ether, and more people understand that when we invest in these things, it pays back and people do better and businesses do better. And it's not socialism. It's actually, creating a sustainable system, for all of us. These arguments are things that also resonate. When I've talked to Republicans, frequently they'll say, wow, I've been Republican all my life, but this makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it actually is based on, a few basic fundamentals in macroeconomics and, behavioral psychology and so on, that are apolitical. These are, the sun doesn't come up because, somebody is Republican or, Democrat or whatever. It's just, it's just kind of a fact of nature, and so, we just need to double down. We need to get this messaging into the national conversation. So when somebody says, I would hope that, our family members, we say, well, how does that work? And we start explaining, how when we invest in education, it helps everybody and helps more people create businesses and so on. It's not taking people's opportunities, or choices. It's creating opportunities for people. So, I think there's plenty of calm minds, and we need to, double down, triple down on our message. But now I have a video, at votereducationproject.com and then /HBUEW. I don't know if you want to put that out to your group.
Well, it was HB.
HBUEW, how bottom-up economics works.
Okay.
Okay. So it's about a 10-minute video. Were you able to, did you watch it earlier? Or?
I did. Yep.
Okay. So it's not a highly polished political thing.
Sure. But I think that adds benefit to the message.
Right.
It's not something that was created in order to it was created in order to persuade, but not necessarily in an aggressive fashion. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, please.
The fundamentals. This is how it works.
Yeah.
Just a few basics that that people relate to. If you don't have a lot of money, you get more, it goes right out the door.
Yeah.
Everybody understands that. But if you have a whole bunch of money and you get more, you have a whole bunch of money, you become risk adverse.
Yes.
People get that. You don't want to lose it. So you spend and invest slowly. Does that speed up the economy?
Nope.
No, it doesn't sound like it does.
No.
So you connect. I think people have kind of the messages. We never really kind of put it together. And what I've tried to do here is create a simple model that people can get their brains around. Maybe not in the first thing, but if we start saying these things and go on the morning shows, if they would just go into, well, how does that work? And really question somebody has a policy. Well, how does that work?
Yeah.
Get into the mechanics of it. And they go on and on and on. And okay, not everybody, wants all that information, especially on the first thing. Some people will go, well, make America great for everyone. Okay, I get that. That's what I believe in. And so there's a low information person's message. Make America great for everyone, And then you have all the details behind it, it's our basic public investments, and stuff. And so more people will understand that. But if we start messaging on basic public investments and that kind of thing for the next, 10, 20, 30 years, we're going to create, even some of these things can change. And the right person says that, things could change on a dime.
Yeah. Yeah.
That message, our basic public investments is what is needed, a fair system, and valuing all workers is what's needed for people to thrive, no matter where you are.
Absolutely.
And that's what Democrats, if you look at their policies, look at what they do, that's what they believe in. They haven't articulated it that way, but that's what there's some places they've done, but as a kind of a complete little story, they haven't put that package together. And so that's what I'm hoping the Democratic Party will do. If Ford Motor Company had a brand problem, they wouldn't leave it up to their individual salespeople to sell the brand or to fix it. They would actually get through, and come up with a message, and fix the brand. And that's what we have here. A lot of people like what Democrats do, but they won't vote because it's a Democrat.
Yeah.
Well, that's a brand problem. We need to explain. We need more advocates. We need our base. Our hardcore Republicans, our Democrats need to understand these fundamentals so that when they are talking to their family members and stuff, they have some of those things to start talking about, our basic public investments and a fair system and valuing all workers. They have those ideas to then spread.
Well, Karl, you're fighting the good fight, and we appreciate the work you're putting into it. Again, votereducationproject.com. You find links in the show notes, and I'll do a link directly to that page with the video so that people can watch that. So definitely go check that out. Again, Karl, really appreciate you being on. It's been an educational conversation for me. Zach would have liked to have been here, but his Saturday morning sometimes is full of children.
Right. And
it's just one.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. let me know if you want me to come back in again, or
Yeah, absolutely.
debate. You want to have a right winger on and have us debate it out, on economics. That would be a lot of fun.
I think I keep saying the same thing. It is really hard to get anyone from the Republican Party to come on our show. I have Joe Wilson. I have attempted to get Joe Wilson to come on multiple times, and there are reformed Republicans, that I like to call them, that have recently lost their seats in the Senate during the primary, that have aspirations of potentially being a part of the Republican Party again, that won't come on. And it's disappointing that when it comes to actually having a hard conversation about the legislation and how that process comes up with what comes out, they don't want to discuss it. They don't want to answer the hard questions. And ultimately, I think that when it comes to a lot of what we discuss on here, hard questions come out, and they don't want to answer those hard questions. So ultimately,
if Trump loses, there might be a window of opportunity where that whole thing, can change. And I heard that somebody was saying, well, if the Democrats lose, it's gonna destroy the Democratic Party or whatever. And I don't think so. I think it's more of a problem for the Republicans. If Trump loses, then what's either that enough of the party is left that they get back to their old, the kind of checks and balances.
Yes. The fiscal conservatisms.
But honoring the institutions and the need for checks and balances, and not having a king, instead of a president, and so I think they're going to be in disarray.
Yeah.
And maybe then also the political capital right now. Like if somebody comes on, they're basically, with so many people thinking that Trump, or maybe that he would win or whatever, they want to be on the right side in terms of, if you're a Republican, you want to be positioned so that you can get another job. But if you come out against it, then you probably won't be able to get another job in that system. So anyway, things might change. I'm very hopeful and cautiously optimistic. But it ain't done until it's done.
Yeah, my suspicion is that Donald Trump loses and loses handedly. That it is that within 24 to 48 hours that we will see a mass exodus of politicians from the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, just because you can't go through almost 10 full years of losing and losing and losing without eventually saying this boat has sunk and it's time to get off. And ultimately, even if Trump wins, I think that there are still a number of Republicans that will probably wind up holding true to their conservative nature or their humanitarian nature, and will potentially abandon that MAGA wing. My hope is that a Trump win is my hope is that there is no such thing as a Trump win after November 5th.
It's hard to believe that many Americans, there's 21st frickin' century, that many Americans could be so easily conned.
Yeah.
Agreed. And, yes, he is a very good con man.
Oh, for sure.
But he is a con man.
He learned from one of the best, and his father passed away and left a legacy of.
He's actually studied it, as what I'm.
He's had authors write books for him about it. So, Donald Trump did not write his book, any of his books. Just people know.
No, he does. He has other people do anything he takes credit for.
That's right. All right.
So,
our guest this week, Karl Smith. Thank you very much, Karl, again for being on. The website is votereducationproject.com, so definitely go check that out. It's in the show notes.
And the video, the How Bottom Economics Works video, and that's either /HBUEW or else there's a link there to take you, to that, to that thing. If you look at the video section, you'll see that video.
Yeah.
But I'm redoing the site and kind of taking out some of the more the deeper things, or and just kind of go in with I've got a winning over more voters, a little piece there.
Yeah.
I've got a piece on Make America Great for Everyone, and then I've got a thing. It's kind of just looking at what Democrats actually do. Democratic values.
Yeah.
Just a little page on that, and so more people can understand what we actually believe and do, and all of that, and not buy into the bullshit.
Yeah. I think ultimately that's one of the biggest things that people need to understand is that Democrats will always want an educated voter population, and Republicans will always continue to want a disinformed or an uneducated voter population. And how that strikes you is certainly up to you, but I definitely want to be in the population of the intelligence and understanding.
The Republicans will take an outlier and indicate that that's the main thing that's happening.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There's actually logical fallacies, and if you've studied logical fallacies, they commit them right and left. I mean, it's just straw man. There's just all sorts of false dilemma.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much, Karl, for being on. Really appreciate it. Want to remind everybody, we are only days away from this election, so make sure you've checked your voter registration. You can do that at theallaboutnothing.com/voter. As well, check your voter registration. You want to make sure you also have a plan for your voting. If that means that you need to download and look at your sample ballots, just do a Google search. Check out your search on Google for sample ballot with your zip code, and I guarantee it'll have all the information out there. Research that. Look at all the questions they're asking. If you, when it comes down to who is running as far as Board of Education, that sort of thing, the League of Women Voters has done an outstanding job in putting together and grabbing the resources necessary to know who these candidates are that are running for boards of education and trustees of education across the state and across the country. So I'll put links to the show notes for the League of Women Voters as well. So definitely go check that out. So again, Karl, thank you very much for being here.
Welcome.
That is going to do it for episode number 229. Thanks for Zach being here as well. Links to past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media available on our website, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly, and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger and support the show monthly? Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content, or you can make a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533, or you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com, or join our Discord server. Links available at our website. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. You all stay safe, be kind, have a great week. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber, or visit my linktree /Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. To find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland, available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved.
Hi again. It's me from the Welcome to Wonderland podcast. This Thanksgiving, make a statement with ZJZ Designs' brand new Thanksgiving Day prints. Whether you're hosting the family feast or just want to show your festive spirit, they've got the perfect design to make your holiday memorable. Introducing Tommy the Turkey. He's fun, he's festive, and he's the star of their latest collection. From playful tees to cozy long sleeves, Tommy will keep you looking stylish as you carve the turkey or sit back and enjoy the pie. And that's not all. Their Thanksgiving prints feature a variety of unique designs that capture the warmth and joy of the season, perfect for yourself or as a gift for a loved one. Shop now at zjzdesigns.com and bring a little extra cheer to your Thanksgiving.